Hey, Adam from Buzzy here. I thought I'd create a quick lo-fi video which looked at taking Google Stitch, which they've just released in beta, see if we can generate some designs and we can actually make them work with taking them into Figma and then taking them into Buzzy. So this is just a very quick look and a comparison between both what I'm seeing over here with Google Stitch as well as Figma and their first draft capability, and also how that applies to then take that and turn that into code. Now, Buzzy will take that the same way that a developer would and make it work.
If you're into no-code tools, startup hacks, and AI magic, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this is where your next big idea takes shape.
So let's have a quick look at this. So I started with a very simple prompt over here. I said, create me a CRM app with a dashboard of sales, customer tasks, deals to close. And this is what it came up with. Pretty cool. So there is a hi-fi option, but that doesn't have an option today for exporting to Figma. So I had to stick with the standard mode over here. I then asked it to add some additional screens, and we can see that I added in like the sales details, the customer profile, task details. Yeah, pretty cool. I then used this button over here to copy it into Figma and just pasted it into a Figma file, and that was pretty easy. It would be nice to be able to export all of it. That's not there yet. So this was what exported into Figma, and you can see that there's some little issues over here with things like layout and that, but in general, like for getting a lo-fi prototype going, an initial design, it was a pretty good starting point. I will say that if we look at the structure of the file, it's not great, especially if you're looking at taking it, giving it to a developer and that. It's just got things like the frames over here are all just like depth. Again, let's say if we clicked on this upcoming task as an example, it's just got a particular frame. This over here is the repeating item. So for example, these are the list of tasks. We really want that housed in like a parent frame that you could do like a dynamic lookup on and so on. So if you're going to turn this into code, that's what you're probably going to need to be able to do it. So there's probably quite a bit of work. Now, just for a visual design, it's great, but to turn it into actual code. Now, in comparison, when I did the same, I gave the exact same prompt to Figma First Draft, and this is what it came up with. So probably maybe closer to where Google Stitch is going with their hi-fi tool. I'll just move that over that way. And if we looked at, just as an example over here, you'll see a couple of different things. So we'll see that just the items over here, like the task list, it is encapsulated in its own frame. That makes a lot more sense from a developer, because that's what's going to do your query, to find the tasks and then dynamically draw them. And then you can see things like the naming of the layers over here makes a lot more sense. It's got some real names in there so you can see it and so on. Now, with the Buzzy plugin, you can use either manually mark up these designs to make them work. I actually used our Auto Markup on top of this file. This was before I put the Figma one in here, and it went and generated what we call a brief, which is the mini product requirements document, which is really cool. And this is fully editable, so if it's not right, you can edit it. It then went and generated the full data model for this, and it did a pretty good job. So it broke things down into what's in a customer, things like a sale, and it's given the right data types to that. So that's a good starting point. Where it fell apart was just what I mentioned before. Because of the structure of this Figma file, the auto markup using AI to do this, it just didn't do a good job of marking up the particular screen elements and that, because firstly, the structure wasn't there. Secondly, it was just a bit hard to work out just looking at the visual. And then if we looked at if we went into this screen over here, it's got just the frame names are just rubbish. They're just not very useful for either a human or that to look at it. So you've really got to start looking in. You probably want to go and rename those frames. So theoretically, you could come in here and rename the frames and then use Buzzy's AI Auto Markup to do it, or you could do that manually. So depending on how much effort it is for each one of those, you probably do want to name things. What's just going to make the Figma file more maintainable, because it becomes like your code, and you can just make changes in here and instantly update either your web or your mobile application. So anyway, so that was a quick run through. Very excited to see that what Google's releasing with Stitch. There's still a way to go. It would be awesome to see them update these features and do a bit of a better job in both the naming of the layers and also the structure of them to make it easier to convert to code. So yeah, thanks for watching.
From idea to working app fast.